Om. Om. Om Brahmanandam Paramasukhanam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tatvamatsyadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalam Achalam Sarvadhi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Triguణarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. So today we start with the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. As we saw from chapter 7 to chapter 12, Bhagwan is explaining himself. He's giving his own biography. From 1 to 6 were talked about Jiva. The chapters talked about us, about Jiva, and how Jiva is to be purified so that the Jiva becomes qualified to understand what Bhagwan is. And therefore, in chapter 7, Bhagwan started off saying that I will explain myself so well to you that you will have jnana, knowledge, and wisdom as well. And then in that chapter, we saw in verse 3, Sutre Manigana Iva, I am like the thread which is holding all the pearls together. And he also gave us para, apara, prakriti, and that which is beyond both. So para being jiva, para being Ishvara, apara jiva, and then Turya, which is the substratum for both jiva and Ishvara. That is what tells us that Ishvara also is ultimately impermanent. So it's a superimposition on the supreme consciousness, and that is what it is. And then he gave us the Drishtanta Purnima. Drishtanta Purnima, the examples of how he can be known in subtle form. Raso Hamapsu Kaunteya, he started off. I am the rasa in the water. I'm not the water itself, but that because of which water is able to make you taste the food. We know that food cannot be tasted without water. That's why we have saliva, constant saliva in our mouth. Or the intelligence in the intellect, the strength in the strong. So he explained in subtle ways how he can be recognized. Idea is, when we eat something, just because we said raso hamopsu kaunteya, our focus should not be on I like this and I don't like that, but our focus should be on that because of which I can experience the liking and the disliking. That is the purpose of chapter 7. That is why he said, you see the person and you say, oh, very intelligent, or very strong, very strong. Where is the strength coming from? Where is the intelligence? That is where our attention should be drawn more and more to the substratum. That was the purpose of chapter 7. He also explained to us the 4 types of devotees that worship him, Artha, Artharthi, Jignasyu, and Jnani. And he said that Jnani is very, very independent, and therefore he likes him the most. Not that he dislikes the others, but that was also told to us. And from 7, he kind of digressed. He used some new terms, Adi Daiva, Adi Bhautik, Adhyadnya. So he threw some new terms at Arjun. Of course, Arjun is going to ask what they are because they were never used before. And so chapter 8 was a little bit of a digression. Bhagwan wanted it that way, and he explained Krama Mukti in there. So in chapter 8, Krama Mukti was explained, and then he picked up the thread in chapter 9. From 7, he picked up the thread in chapter 9. Now, the point is that 7, there are people who are mature enough to understand the subtle aspect of Bhagwan, but not all of them are like that. most of us, our attention, like in the morning class we saw, our attention is on the differences. It's very difficult for us when we are watching a movie. It's very difficult for us to think about the screen. We never think about the screen. We only get caught up in the movie. So our attention is mostly on the gross objects. And of course, we're going to see differences in them. And so what Bhagwan is now doing in chapter 10, he's saying, okay, I understand that you do not have the purity of mind. It is the purity of the mind that determines this. You don't have that sort of maturity. You don't have that sort of purity of mind to suddenly go into my subtle aspect, rasoham, the intelligence in the intellect, the strength in the strong. You don't have that, doesn't matter. Your attention is more on in the world, on the different things in the world. Now what I'm going to tell you is how to look for me in the world. That's what I'm going to tell you now in chapter 10. So that's why it is called as the Vibhuti Yoga. That is what it is, Vibhuti Yoga. Vibhuti is what, glory, his glory. That's why we have Chinmaya Vibhuti. What is Chinmaya Vibhuti? The glory of Gurudev, of Puja Gurudev, right? So all the things that he has, all the schools and, and institute, all the work he did. Vibhuti is something external which can be seen. There are two words. There is Vibhuti and there is Yoga. Yoga is, yoga is subtle. Vibhuti is cross. Vibhuti can be seen. The creation can be seen, but the creator is subtle. We cannot see the creator. We can see the creation though. So he says, okay, it is difficult for you to see the creator. They say, in the creation itself, I'm going to tell you how you can look for me. So whether you are alone with if you have the maturity to be alone with yourself and contemplate on my subtle nature, on my Turiya nature, fine. But if not, if you're going out into the world and you're looking at the different things in the world, I'm going to tell you how you can see me in there also. Because ultimately, in the ultimate analysis, we saw in the Upanishad that Brahman desired, made, and entered. What is entry? He is there in everything. So you cannot say he's not there in the mountains or the trees or anything. It's not like that. He is there. We have to look for him, but if we want to realize him, we can look for him in the creation. But please remember that if we have to realize him, then we have to go into his subtle form itself. Okay. That is the purpose of this chapter, Vibhuti Yoga. Vibhuti is how to see the Lord when we are in the world. We are in the creation, how to see the Lord. And yoga is how to see the Lord when we are alone. When with ourselves, we are alone. Then seeing the Lord in the cave of our heart or in my mind becomes yoga. But when I open my eyes and I go out into the creation, then if I want to see the Lord, then that it is his vibhuti. That is what this chapter is. Now, he has given about 75 examples in the verses that are there. And of course, in the end, he has also said that, if I were to tell you in detail, we would be here only. I can go on telling you the details of my glory till the cows come home, and still they would not be finished. So only in Sankshipta, I'll give you a summary of my vibhutis, because to tell you fully is impossible. It's not possible. I'll tell you. That is what this chapter is all about. Okay. So when we saw in chapter 7, Sutre Manigana Eva, Sutra is the yoga and Mani is the vibhuti. So he explained Sutra in 7 by saying, I am the, tepidity in the water, I'm the intelligence, I'm the strength, etc., etc. So he explained the Sutra. Because Sutra, the thread is not seen. In a necklace of pearls, the thread is never seen. It's only the pearls, but we know that the pearls are being held in one place, and that is because of the thread. So the thread is yoga and the pearls are vibhuti. And if I can't see the thread, then Bhagavan says, you look at the pearls and I'll tell you how to look for me in the pearls. Because I alone am the thread and I alone am the pearls. There is nothing different from me. Okay, that is the purpose of this chapter. All right. Now, अथ दशमोऽध्यायः श्रीभगवानुवाच भूय एव महाबाहो शृणु मे परमं वचः यत्तेऽहं प्रीयमाणाय वक्ष्यामि हितकाम्यया. The blessed Lord said, again, O mighty armed, listen to my supreme word, which I, wishing you welfare, will declare to you who are delighted to hear me. Bhuya, again. This word is important here. Why is he saying again? What is the meaning of again? When I say, okay, I will tell you once again, which means that I've already told you something before, and now once again I'm going to tell you. So this first word again is indicating to us that Bhagavan has explained all this before. That he has told us. He has told Arjun before. But he says, again, I will tell you. Because he told his nature in chapter 7. He said, Sutra and Mani both are me. If we understood it there, then fine, we understood it. But not if not everybody can understand. He was again, I will tell you. Also, it indicates Bhagwan is not bored of telling again and again. He wants Arjun to understand, and he doesn't mind repeating himself again and again. And even in the 18th chapter, he says, Arjun, if you have not understood this, I will repeat the whole thing to you. He says that. He said that. But that by that time, Arjun had realized, I mean, so that was okay. But he said, Bhagavan said that. So that's why Bhuya, once again, Eva Mahabaho, Mahabaho word we have heard before many times, strong-armed one or mighty-armed one, strong. You are strong. Strong not only physically, but also mentally. So you are capable of understanding the subtle also, I know, but now understand the gross as well. Mahabaho, strong, strength, indicating strength. Shunu is to hear me, listen to me. Me paramam vachaha, vachaha speech. How does the speech become paramam, supreme? He says, listen to my supreme speech. Why is your speech supreme? Why does speech become supreme? You know, there are three types of people, it is said. So the lowest kind of people talk about other people. That is not supreme. The second type of people talk general things, weather, politics. They're not gossiping about it. But the highest kind of people talk only about the supreme reality. So when this, it is not the speech, but it is what is spoken makes the speech higher or lower. What are the words that are being spoken? So Bhagwan now is going to talk about himself. He himself is Paramam, he is supreme. We have seen that word very, very many times. Supreme, from which it is a point of no return, beyond which there is nothing. So because he is going to talk about his own nature, gross nature, or whatever nature, his speech becomes supreme. So that's why it's Paramam Vachaha, speech, supreme speech. Yatteham, why are you talking Bhagwan again? Priyamana. Because I have come to know, Arjun, that you are really enjoying what I'm telling you. If you find that the audience is getting bored, please don't repeat again and again. You know, as a point. Here Bhagwan is saying, Priyamanaya, you are delighted to hear me because you have asked questions. You have asked how does Bhagwan know that Arjun was delighted? Because he was asking questions. He took the dialogue further. I told you in chapter 2 only Bhagwan had finished. Full teaching is finished in chapter 2. There, right there, Bhagwan said, the soul is immortal, the body doesn't die, finish. Teaching was over. But he wanted to hear more. That's why he asked a question. And then he asked it again. Not the same question, but different questions. So he actually led Bhagwan to go further. Bhagwan wanted that, you know, for us, because we would never have understood only after listening to chapter 2. So anyway, so that's why Bhagwan is saying, you're delighted to hear me. So I'm also delighted to tell you my supreme, my supreme nature. Why is Bhagavan so delighted? Hita kama, kamya, because kama is desire, hita welfare. So your welfare is my desire, your welfare, and therefore I do not mind repeating myself again. And I also know, okay, see, one thing is the speaker might have the welfare of the listener in mind, but if the listener is getting totally bored, then what is the point of telling the listener? That also is there. Like, one is, yes, the speaker wants the welfare of the listener, but the listener is also should be willing to listen to what is his own thing. So here both are there. Bhagwan is also has Arjun's welfare in mind, but Arjun also wants to hear. Arjun has been delighted to hear. He's been asking questions. So he's also delighted. Other point in this verse is what we have seen. Anubandha Chatushta is something we have seen quite often. There is Anubandha Chatushta. Everybody remembers what's Anubandha Chatushta is? Four things. First is Adhikari, who is the qualified student for this, whatever text, whatever book. Second is Vishaya, what is the subject matter of the text? Third is, what is the purpose? Why is Bhagwan speaking? Purpose, what is the purpose? Hetu. And fourth is Sambandha, connection between the purpose and the Vishaya. The Vishay and the purpose have to be connected. If I want to learn cooking, want to become a chef, that is my goal, then I need a recipe book, and I need a book which has got all the different recipes. And then what is the sambandha? I want to be a chef. The recipes are in the book. I need to practice those recipes. So I have to practice. That is the sambandha. Okay, so four things: Adhikari, Vishaya, Hetu, and Sambandha. These are the four, they're called as Anubandha Chatushtaya. Now here, who is the Adhikari? Adhikari is Mahabaho. That word is indicating Adhikari. You are a very strong person, mentally as well as physically, because, for Vedanta, you really need mental strength. It's very difficult to hear when we say that, when Vedantic things are sent for a ordinary ignorant person who thinks that he's the body, he's going to die someday, this is going to happen, it's very difficult to understand. So you do need a certain amount of strength. Strength comes from purity of mind. Okay. So Mahabaho is the Adhikari. What is the Vishaya? The subject, Paramam Vachaha. Paramam, the supreme is the Vishaya. That Paramam Vachaha indicates Vishaya or subject matter of the text. Here the text is this chapter 10. Priyamanaya. So what is now the subject matter is Vach Param Vacha. What is the Saman? Okay, what is the Hetu first? Let's go to the Hetu. Hetu is Hita Kamyaya. The Hetu is welfare of Arjun. That is the Hetu. Why is Bhagwan telling his Paramam Vacha is the subject. Adhikari is Mahabaho. Why is Bhagwan telling? Because Bhagwan wants Arjun's welfare. Now, what is the connection between these two? Arjun is delighted to hear that. That is the connection. I am delighted to hear what you have to say about yourself. So here that is the connection. Priyamanaya. I have been delighted to hear whatever that you've told me so far, and I'm still interested in knowing more. So please tell me more. That's why that again word is there, bhuya. Again, I will tell you because you want to hear. And I have your welfare in mind. And this subject matter is Paramam Vacha, and you're delighted to hear this Paramam Vacha. And it's like, in my childhood, I was the oldest, and my cousins, I would go see the movie. Then I would tell the whole story in like, they would be all, I had forgotten this incident. Then my cousins came here. He's retired, I am retired. He said, in our childhood, used to tell us stories. So that is the someone that they were delighted to hear my movie stories. So I was telling them, so that is here also is the same thing. Priyamanaya. You like to hear my about me, so now I'm going to tell you. So we have Anubandha Chatushtaya. So this is the introduction to that to the 10th chapter. Sri Bhagavan Vacha. Okay, here we have seen Sri Bhagavan Vacha. We have seen the meaning of Bhagavan many times. The possessor of the 6 qualities, 100%, Aishwarya, Yasha, Shri, Dharma, Vairagya, and Jnana. Those are the 6 qualifications. But here, this Sri Bhagavan Vacha can be divided into 3 words. Shri, Bhagavan, and Uvacha. Okay, that is the break of that. Shri, it appears as just one word, but Shri and then Bhagavan and then Uvacha saying. In Shri and Bhagavan, Shri is indicating Vibhuti. What is Shri? Shri is prosperity, right? So his creation, look at the mountains, look at the Himalayas, look at the Alps, look at the Rocky Mountains, look at his creation. So Shri is Vibhuti. Bhagavan is yoga. Yoga sthiti, yoga. Then in Bhagavan and Uvacha, Uvacha is Vibhuti because what he's speaking, that can be heard. So that becomes Vibhuti and Bhagavan is yoga. This is how that break is now. Here, we have not seen this sort of a break before. The reason is because it applies only to this chapter. Because this Vibhuti Yoga, Vibhuti we said is the creation outside that can be seen. Yoga Sthiti, yoga is how to know Bhagwan when you're alone. Vibhuti is how to know him when you're in the creation. So Shri becomes Vibhuti, Bhagavan is yoga, and then Bhagwan is yoga, and Uvacha is Vibhuti, because Uvacha is being heard, said, what is being said. Arjun is hearing, we are also listening. Okay. Now, why is he, Gurudev has put the question, why the Lord decided to continue his discourses is now explained. Name vidusuraganaha prabhavam namaharshayah ahamadirhi devanam maharshinam cha sarvashah. Neither the hosts of the heavens nor the great rishis know my origin. For in every way I am the source of all the devas and the rishis. Why am I explaining this to you myself? Is because I am not very easy to understand. So host of heavens is the devas who live in the Swargaloka. Even they cannot understand me. What to talk about you mortals? They can't understand me. And the rishis are one who are meditating on me, trying to know me. They don't know me and they can't know me. Why is that? Because I am the source. So unless you turn inwards, it is very difficult to know him. Now here, the subjective, of course, he's given a list of Bhrigu and Nabha, that all you can read from the book. I'm not going to be giving you a list of the Devas and the Rishis. Point here is the Devas represent the sense organs. Devas represent the sense organs and Rishis represent the mind. You know why? Because Devas are, you know what? These are devas for us. They go out and they get the pleasure and they offer it all to the mind. Rishis are the ones that are sitting. We have seen how the Vedas came about, how Upanishads, Vedas came about. They were mantras revealed to the rishis in their higher states of meditation. So rishis representing the mind, devas representing the sense organs. Bhagwan is saying through the sense organs and through the mind, you cannot know me. This is the meaning of this, subjective meaning of this verse. That the senses, now in Taittiriya we are saying, yaprapya manasa, yaprapya indriya manasasa. So indriyas and mana, they cannot get me. Even in Upanishad, Bhagavan has said this. Here he's saying this in a simpler form. This is through if you try to see me, you cannot reach me. If you try to smell, touch, taste me, no, you cannot do it. Mind, we have seen in Kenopanishad the story where, first wind god is sent and everybody, and they come back, then Indra goes, who is the king of the Devas. Indra goes. Then he understands, but he crosses the mind and understands. So idea is that through the mind and through the sense organs, organs of perception, you cannot know me. This is what is meant by devas and rishis. There's the subtle meaning of that, subjective meaning of these words, okay? If you take the gross meaning, it means devas in the heavens. That's why when Shankaracharya has said, everybody has said that those devas who get birth in the Swarga Loka, they want to come back as mortals because they realize that God, we cannot realize it. We can experience happiness. Swarga Loka is a point of happiness. I've told you this many, many times. You will have immeasurable happiness there, but happiness may be immeasurable, but the time is limited. So you have immeasurable happiness for a limited time. Do you want immeasurable happiness for an immeasurable time period? That is the question. So the devas, when they realize that, but this is going to end, they want to come back to the mortal world because this is earth. Mortal world is the only place in the human body. It is realized. God is realized. That is why. Okay. But through this body, if you're trying to do it through the senses or the mind, no, cannot be done. That is what he means by devas. Like that, devas and rishis, we know that rishis in their higher states of meditation, they did realize, okay, that way they realized. So in the mind, they represent, in the mind, when you calm the mind down, when the thoughts go to zero, when the mind is highly, highly purified, at that time, the divinity within will start shining forth. And that's when we'll realize that. But for us to quieten the mind is extremely difficult. It is not very easy. Okay. All right. Simple. This chapter is later on, you will see it is pretty simple. It's a long chapter, but it's not very, the first few verses are a bit of explanation. After that, it'll go really fast. Yo mamajamanadim cha veti lokamaheshwaram assam mudha samarteshu sarva papai pramuchate. He who amongst the mortals knows me as unborn and beginningless, as the great Lord of the worlds, he is undeluded and is liberated from all sins. The one who knows me, we have seen this idea very much, knows intellectual knowing is not, that's why he already said you cannot reach it through the, even now we know that he's beginningless. What has to be known is that I am beginningless. That is what has, we know God, okay, God is beginningless, God doesn't have, I think, but I am born and I'm going to die. So this knowing has to be a firm conviction that I was never born and I will never die. That is the important, that we don't have. That's that knowing we don't have. We know God, okay, yeah, objectively, yeah, God is unborn, God will not die, but I am going to die now. So I'm sad. So this knowing is realizing. So when you realize yourself to be that eternal self, even, you know, we see, like I have seen people who are on this path, who are pretty well established in this thought, they start becoming more and more fearless. Fearlessness is the greatest thing that we get. We saw in Taittiriya Upanishad, Brahman itself is the cause of fear. Brahman itself is the cause of fearlessness. If you know Brahman as being yourself, you must not have, you cannot have fear. You cannot. So this knowing has to be like that. That's why even in meditation, I've told you to meditate, oh, Brahman is there and he is this. It's not like that. Nididhyasana, what we call Nididhyasana, is to say, I am Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi. So that is what Nididhyasana is. Nididhyasana is not, that is Upasana then. Oh, that is a Shivling, that is Shivji, and then that is this. No, that is, if as long as you're keeping God outside and meditating on him, it is Upasana. You cannot keep God outside. He is inside. And that is where the focus has to be. I am Brahman. I am Brahman. I am Brahman. And that is what knowing is. And if you even get established, not even before, long before even realizing, if you are even established in that thought, fear will start reducing. So what he says is, Chabeti Loka Maheshwaram, those who do not know that I am the Ishvara of the entire, creator of the entire universe, controller. Loka Maheshwar, Ishvara is the controller. Antaryami, right? How is Ishvara controller? You know, you have a cotton cloth, okay? So you stick it in the washer and the dryer and the cloth shrinks. What is the cloth made of? Of cotton thread. That's why we are saying it is cotton cloth. It's cotton thread. Cotton thread is made out of cotton. And that cotton and cotton thread has the capacity, not capacity, but that's its limitation, that it will shrink in water or in the dryer. Even water only you put, things shrink. So the thread is what is controlling the cloth, because the cloth is made out of the thread. And the thread, if it shrinks, the cloth will shrink. If the thread loosens, they become loose, then the cloth will become loose. And that is how that thread is the controller of the cloth. Since Ishvara is all pervading in the universe, he controls everything in the universe. That is how he becomes the controller. That is how we should know him as. That's what he's saying. Loka Maheshwaram. The controller knows me as Anman beginning, as the great Lord of the worlds. What is the Lord of the worlds? Controller. Now, who is the Lord? King. If you say king, prime minister, president, general in the army, he's the one that is controlling the entire army. He is the one that is controlling the country. King is controlling the thing, right? So when we say Lord of the worlds, what is Lord? Lord is the controller of the world. How is he the controller? Because he is in and through the creation. Just like the thread controls the cloth. Thread is the controller of the cloth. If the thread shrinks, cloth shrinks. If the thread expands, the cloth expands. That way, that is how we have to know him. Asamudha. Samudha, foolishness. PhD in foolishness, delusion, and wrong thinking. What is delusion? Wrong thinking. What is wrong thinking? I am the body. World is real. Happiness is in the world. I must go running after the world. If I want to be happy, I better run. So what happens is, when I come to know myself as that source of bliss, I am only the source of bliss. Bliss is coming from in. That's what we did. Anand Mimamsa we did. Those of you who have in the Friday class, I don't even have to explain this. But anyway, those who come to know that I am that Lord, it's Sat, Chit, and Ananda. So the recognizing myself as Sat is making me fearless, because Sat doesn't have any death. So I'm Sat, how can I die? And Ananda is I'm the source of bliss. So why am the cube of sugar runs after the chocolate? So the cube was asked, why are you running after the chocolate? Oh, I want sweetness from the chocolate. Arey Baba, it is you that is giving sweetness to the chocolate. So why are you running? That is what we are, cube of sugar. We are cube of sugar, but we don't know that. That we don't recognize, so we are running. Run here, run there, run there. That is a samudha. That is the one who is running into the world for happiness is a deluded person. Once I realize myself to be that supreme self, I will become a samudha, opposite of samudha. I will not be deluded anymore. Samarteshu sarva papaihi, all this is pramuchat. Muchate is freedom. From prakarshena much, he will be released, very well released from what? From all the sins. So sin, what is sin then? Sin again is at different levels, right? So sin is one sin where I've explained many times, we are not even in that category, lying, cheating, blah, 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 blah. But one level of sin is, one way of explaining that is when I am not following Dharma Shastra. That is sin. So what is Dharma Shastra telling us? There are do's and don'ts, right? So those do's and don'ts which are being told by the Vedas, by Dharma Shastra, because Veda is what? Dharma, karma and dharma, both it is there, right? Karma kand is also there, dharma is also there. Dharma is what is telling us do's and don'ts. Karma is what is telling us how to fulfill our desires. That is karma. And dharma is do's and injunctions. So when I don't follow those injunctions, then I'm leading a life of sin. Is when I'm not following those injunctions. Now what happens is how do I follow injunctions? By leading a life of self-discipline. Self-imposed self-discipline has to be imposed. And I start leading that life. I'm doing good. I follow the thing. But then what happens is doership creeps in. See, I am absolutely following the do's and don'ts that are told in the Vedas, right? Then doership is coming in. How do I know doership is coming in? When I have vanity for the good that I do and guilt for something bad that happens. The reason I'm saying happens is because you have to understand that karma is only happening because of the interactions of the gunas, chapter 3. But I don't recognize that. I'm a good person. Huh? I'm a good person. I don't recognize that. And I think I did bad. It's some mistake. You know, we turn the wrong way or whatever mistake, right? So then what happens is I'm leading a life of dharma, but doership starts creeping in. That becomes a papa then. At that level, doership and enjoyership is sin. And then the final sin is, of course, to consider myself different from God. It's the final sin. So I have to work. I'm at the second level. I need to work on my doership and enjoyership. Now, what is happening is, in this case, in this verse, he says, those who know me, I told you, know me is realize me as their own self. Ego is completely annihilated. So doership, enjoyership is not there. And the final sin, what is the final sin? I'm different from God. That sin gets washed away. That is what it is. Sarva papaihi pramuchate, prakarshena muchate. Very well released from the bondage of all sins. So, of course, the lowest level sin, not following injunctions doesn't even come into the picture. Doership is also not coming into the picture because doership is to the ego. Now, in recognizing myself as the supreme self, my ego is annihilated. So there's no doership. And then I've seen the oneness. Therefore, pramuchate. Prakarshana is that last, that one, doership, enjoyership, we are at that level. So it's very, very hard to get rid of that. That's why prakarshana is used. Prakarshana is the third step. That third step that I am different from God is also gone by knowing us as himself, as him. So the self in me is the self in all. Okay. This loka word Samartesh, where is Loka? Loka, Gurudev defines it as it is a field of experience, one thing, but something which is experienced, which may be seen or not seen. That is also, so, okay. So one explanation of loka, we have heard there are 14 lokas above and 14 below. We have seen that the 7 above, 7 below. So there are 14 worlds, Swarga loka, Gandharva loka, Kinnara loka, Brahma loka. This is all the lokas. But another explanation of lokas is anything that is experienced, which is seen and which is not seen. So in this category, there are two divisions there, Atma Loka and Anatma Loka. Okay. Anatma Loka, Anatma. What is Anatma? Not self. What is not self? This entire world is the not self. Okay, so this world is Loka. Now, included in this Anatma Loka is what? Body, mind, and intellect. Because body also is part of the world. I've told you this before many times. See, it's very easy to understand that all this around me is the world and I am here, this thing. But what we need to understand is this body also is world because I see it. So all this is falling under Anatma Loka. Now this Atma Loka is, when I realize myself to be that Atma. So that is unseen, na? Not perceived. So Loka Maheshwaram is also, that Loka means that Loka when I see the Atma Loka, what is meant by seeing, I realize myself to be that Atma. That is that. So that word loka has these implications, two implications. Okay. So one who knows me as the Lord, as the creator, as being in and through the creation, in and being through the whole body, everything, never gets deluded again. I've given you the example of that hologram, right? You see that whatever animal is in there, you never lose it. But to see it is very difficult. But once you see it, you'll never lose it. So that's what is said. Once you recognize the oneness, you will never lose it. You don't lose it. You never become deluded again. You were deluded, now you became undeluded, you don't become. That's the meaning of that endless, beginningless. If it has an end, it'll have a beginning. So knowing this, knowing myself to be beginningless and endless, that is what realization is. Not knowing that God is, yeah, we know that God is beginningless, God is God is there, and He is beginningless. What about me? That needs to be understood and realized. All right. 4 and 5 are two verses will be, they're a continuation. There is no verb in 4. So it's a continuation into the 5th. So we read them together. And they are a set of values or virtues that Bhagwan has given. Some of them we are very familiar with. That we have studied, because that is what makes us qualified. These virtues will make us qualified for studying this chapter. These virtues will also be given in chapter 13. In chapter 13, Bhagwan has given a set of 20 virtues, which he calls as jnanam. And they are virtues, but he calls them jnanam. Here also we can call them jnanam, because those virtues will help us get the knowledge of the supreme reality. That's why. बुद्धिर्ज्ञानम सम्मोहः क्षमा सत्यम दमः शमः सुखम दुःखम भावो भावः भयं चाभयमेव च अहिंसा समता तुष्टिः तपो दानं यशो यशः भवन्ति भावा भूतानां मत्त एव पृथक्विधा. Intellect, wisdom, non-illusion, forgiveness, truth, self-restraint, calmness, happiness, pain, birth or death, fear and also fearlessness, non-injury, equanimity, contentment, austerity, beneficence, fame, infamy, all these different kinds of qualities of beings arise from me alone. Same idea we heard in Upanishad, right? He desired, he created, and he entered. That is what this is. So let's see. Buddhi, jnana, and asammoha are the first 3 words in 4. Buddhi, intellect. So there are 3 types of intellects. Sattvic intellect, Rajasic intellect, Tamasic intellect. 3 types of intellect, Buddhi. Sattvic intellect is that which is capable of seeing the oneness in the multiplicity. It's capable, the capacity. That is what is Sattvic Buddhi. The Rajasic Buddhi is that which focuses on the differences in the multiplicity. See, because we are now studying Vibhuti Yoga. Huh? So what is the chapter about? You go out into the multiplicity and you see Bhagwan. So what is the idea there? We have got a Rajasic Buddhi where we see the multiplicity in the world. And now in that we convert, by seeing through the multiplicity, we convert our Buddhi into Sattvic Buddhi. That is the idea of this whole chapter. Because Vibhuti, you go out in the creation and I will tell you how to see me in that creation. You can't see me in the subtle form. But through that, we have to reach this subtle. That is not the end. This is not the end goal. This is the means. So Rajasic Buddhi is that which will see the multiplicity. And Tamasic Buddhi is that which will only think of destruction. Otherness and destruction. That is what Tamasic Buddhi is. What is, by saying the last, you have to see, arise from me alone. That is the important, that is the verb there, arise, right? So buddhi, sattvic buddhi is also coming from me, rajasic buddhi is also coming from me, tamasic buddhi also is coming from me. You cannot say tamasic came from Satan. Satan is something other than God. Everything has come from him. This is what is to be understood here, that whether it is sattva, whether it is rajas, and whether it is tamas, they have arisen from me alone. Means what? Means in chapter 7 he said, no, they are in me, but I am not in them. That is what, I am not sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. But if you see sattva, rajas, and tamas in action outside, know that it has come from me. Know that it has come from me. Next is jnana. Same thing with jnana. There is sattvic jnana, rajasic jnana, and tamasic jnana. Now this sattvic buddhi, buddhi is inside. Okay, inside where? Inside me. Jnana is happening outside. Knowledge is happening outside. So if it is a sattvic buddhi, the knowledge outside also will be sattvic. Right? If my buddhi is sattvic, if my buddhi is capable of seeing the oneness, then when I go out into the world, I will see oneness only. I will see the existence. If I'm a jnani, I will see the existence principle in all the beings. If I'm a bhakta, I will see my Ishta Devata. That's what we saw in Monday class. Manache Shloka. How do I see the oneness outside? If I'm a bhakta, I'm going to see my Ishta Devata in everybody. If I'm a jnani, I'm going to see the principle, existence principle in everybody. And that is how I will reach the oneness. That is how I will see the oneness. So sattvic buddhi will give rise to sattvic jnana. Then there is rajasic jnana, which is divisive in nature. So you are different than me. I'm richer than you. I'm poorer than you. I'm shorter. I'm all this when I focus on the body, externalities. Then it is giving rise to rajasic jnana and tamasic jnana. Is there even anything known as tamasic jnana? I don't know. But tamasic is something which is used for hurting other people. So when people do voodoo and all kinds of demonic things, which will come in chapter 17 anyways, it's 16 or 17 it'll come, asuri prakriti, where people do things so that somebody else gets a stomach ache, somebody else gets a headache or falls sick, those type of things. That buddhi is then tamasic, giving rise to tamasic jnana. And then it's jnanam asammoha. Sammoha, I told you, is delusion, wrong thinking. Asammoha is correct thinking. So this sattvic buddhi will give rise to correct thinking, right? Because the knowledge is correct. See, buddhi is sattvic, then knowledge becomes correct. Then there will not be a delusion, na? It just follows. Buddhi, jnana, and so they go together. Buddhi is inside, jnana is happening outside. And what is the result of that sattvic buddhi and sattvic jnana is non-delusion. That is the result. Asammoha is the result. So if the buddhi is rajasic, then jnana will be rajasic. Then this asammoha will not be there. Sammoha will be there. Result. And tamasic, of course, then that'll be tamasic. There will be definitely be delusion. Sammoha in tamasic, there may not be any thinking also actually. Tamasic, the person is not even thinking. If you take these things subjectively, then this buddhi is shravanam. See, we have heard these three words. Which ones? Shravanam, mananam, nididhyasanam. So buddhi, how do I make my buddhi sattvic, or how does it become rajasic or tamasic, is from what I have heard or read, what kind of environment I am in, right? So all these things fall under shravanam. So if I'm exposed to right from childhood to scriptures, then I will grow up like that, with that buddhi. So internally, means subjectively, buddhi represents shravanam. When that shravanam is correct, of the correct things, then buddhi will become correct also. Jnana represents mananam. Mananam is what? Doubts. Shravanam is to remove ignorance. Why is Shravanam done? Why am I listening to all this? Or why have I listened to all the scriptures so far, because I was ignorant. Was I not ignorant of the fact that, I aham brahmasmi? I was totally, I personally, I'm talking really, I'm personally I didn't know in my childhood aham brahmasmi. I didn't know that. I knew there was a God. I believed in God, but God was always there. I was here, God was there. So this ignorance was removed by Shravanam. So purpose of Shravanam, purpose of Buddhi is to remove ignorance. You listen to the correct things, listen to what is supposed to be listened to, and your Buddhi will change. It should change. If it doesn't change, then I don't know, but it should change. So Buddhi represents Shravanam. Now that Buddhi I have to churn it. Like I have heard this, right? So this jnana is mananam. How, like I said, Sattvic Buddhi is there. So now I've heard that there is oneness. Now when I go out, I need to, they said there's one. Oh yeah, actually, yeah, correct. This person is existing, that person, mountains also existing, trees also. So if I focus on the isness, if I focus on the existence, that is mananam, that is churning it in your head. I've given you the example, right? Like, okay, this is a tree, then this is a branch. I cut, then I burned, then this is ash. So this, I should think like that. Buddhi, when I've heard, then as per what I've heard, I should use my knowledge and I should think. So that's why Jnanam represents Mananam. And then Mananam is to remove doubts. I'm not the body. How am I not the body? I feel that I'm body. Then I have to do. So I go out in the world, and then when I start focusing away from the body, something focus, my focus is changed because of what I've heard, then my jnana will also change. And that focusing is then the mananam. And asammoha is nididhyasana. In nididhyasana, the purpose of nididhyasana is removal of viparita bhavana. Viparit, opposite. Viparit, wrong or opposite. Bhavana, thinking. So what is the viparit bhavana that I have today? I am body, mind, intellect. That is viparita bhavana. That to reverse. So aham jivoham, right? Aham jivaha is what it, first of all, lowest is aham deha. Dehosmi is the lowest. That is where we are. So from there, if we can move to jivoham, like I am not the body, but at least I'm the jiva, we are a little bit ahead. But actually in Nididhyasanam, what is to happen is I am not even the jiva. Because the jiva is the one that is feeling everything, feeling sukha dukkha, honor, dishonor, joy, sorrow, all heat, cold, everything that jiva is experiencing. But I am the one who is beyond all these experiences. I am the one because of whom these experiences are being experienced. That is the removal of viparita bhavana, and that is what asammoha is. Non-delusion is coming to a fixed understanding that I am neither this joy nor am I this sorrow. I am the one because of whom this joy and sorrow is being felt. Do you get it? Only the first few verses are a little bit complicated. After that, I promise you this, it becomes very simple.
Jayaji, can you repeat that again what you said?
Sorry?
Can you repeat that again what you said? I am the one.
I am the one who, because of whom the joy and sorrow is experienced. I am the one. Aham Brahmasmi. It is the presence of the pure consciousness in us that makes us feel the joy or feel the sorrow. If I was even in a coma, if I was, do you think if somebody came and told me some good news or bad news, would I feel anything? That it's folded, mind is folded. So through the mind, I feel, we saw that in the morning class itself, right? The subtle body is the means of bhoga, means of experience. But that means, how is it enlivened? How do I feel it? Because of the presence of the pure consciousness. we'll stop here for today. Any other questions? Is that clear, Chitra? Any questions? Think about it. We have seen all these things we have seen before, especially in the Upanishad. I wanted to let everybody know that next week, which is the 8th, no, which is the 1st of June, there'll be a class, and 8th of June, there will be a class, but my classes will all be closed. Like there won't be a class further than that. I'm traveling in the month of June, last 2 weeks, and then July and August, we are closed anyway. So after 8th of June, this class will continue on 7th of September, which is after the Labor Day weekend. Okay. So we will take a break. But of course, Swamiji's Yadne is there. So I'll see all of those who are local, at least I hope to see them either in the morning or evening sessions. And so we have got 2 more classes. We will continue with this. Of course, absolutely impossible to complete it. But wherever we stop, then we'll continue when we come. And next time we'll see, we'll only be able to complete 4 and 5, I think, next time. Even I don't know if we'll even be, because every word has got a huge explanation. Because these are the virtues. This is jnanam. This is very important. These 2 verses are very important. And then Bhagavan goes on to say that one who has developed this, I will then give them the buddhi yoga. It's my responsibility. But first we have to do all the work of, all this work we have to do, self-effort. Then Bhagavan will take over. Any questions? All good? Okay. So we'll close for today and we'll meet next Sunday. ॐ स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महिं महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यं लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु काले वर्षतु पर्जन्यः पृथ्वी सस्यशालिनी देशोऽयं क्षोभरहितः ब्राह्मणाः सन्तु निर्भयाः ॐ सर्वेषां स्वस्ति भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ